going on, everyone? Bear Bets Podcast back. First of our Super Bowl preview shows. Kind of an overarching show today. Take some questions via the mailbag. Toss around some just general themes. And to do that with us, as always, my co-host Geoff Schwartz and Will Hill will join us as well for the entire show. We get an entire show of Will, which is all the more reason to stay and hang out with all of us today. But I guess the overall arching theme of the game is just, by the way, the Chiefs currently 1.5 point favorite, total around 48.5. It just seems to me, Geoff and Will, that everyone's just kind of falling on the same groupthink of this game where, if the Eagles win, Eagles will win, they're a better team, they got better players, and Barkley will be MVP. I feel like I'm hearing, or the other is, I think the Eagles are better, I'm just not going to bet against Mahomes. Is this the right way to be thinking about this, or is there another way out there that we should potentially be thinking about it?
Well, if the Eagles win, Jalen Hurts can certainly be the MVP. I think the Chiefs will sell it to stop Barkley, right? I mean, that's certainly possible. You add a couple rushing touchdowns in the low red zone, and Hurts is the MVP, right? I mean, there's no guarantee that Barkley wins the MVP if the Eagles win, but we have seen nearly guarantee that Patrick Mahomes wins. He's the MVP even when he maybe shouldn't be. Like, we have 3 years of that now where he wins the Super Bowl MVP, and you're like, Damian Williams should have won the MVP. Now, that year, guys, his final touchdown there at the end was mostly after the writers had already submitted their vote for Super Bowl MVP. That's part of this discussion, guys. This vote gets in, 5 minutes before the end of the game. I mean, people start submitting votes, and if something happens in the last couple plays of the game, that vote might already be decided. We said it with Aaron Donald and Cooper Kupp when the Rams won. It probably should have gone to Aaron Donald, but it didn't because it went to Cooper Kupp because voters got their votes in before the end of the game. But, Will, I'm on the page of, I got to see the Eagles beat the Chiefs. I got to see someone beat the Chiefs. They lost one Super Bowl, and that Super Bowl was when they were missing 4 offensive linemen. That's not what they're doing in this game. And the Chiefs keep winning these big moments. I go back to this, right? You might disagree with the spot Josh Allen had, but on that play, they defended the quarterback sneak very well. The Chiefs won the moments on the final drive of the game where they completed 2 passes for a first down. They won the moment with the pressure on 4th and 5. They keep winning these moments, Will, and until that stops, I'm riding with the Chiefs.
Yeah, the Eagles, I think, have the better team, have the better roster, and you're getting a couple of points, so I can understand betting the Eagles, but I want no part of them. I'm not betting against this guy. I'm just not going to do it, and it doesn't make for anything that's, profound or anything that you're not going to hear elsewhere. This guy is too good where, hey, I can put my head at the pillow at night. Same thing we talked about a couple weeks ago last week against the Bills, where, hey, if I bet against Mahomes and I lose, you know what? I could put my head on the pillow. Where if I bet against this guy, man, it's tough it's a tough way to watch a game. It's a tough way to sit there for 3 hours. He's just going to make every big play. And it's not just him. They've got the coordinator with Spagnuolo. They've got the head coach with Andy Reid. They've been there before. I do think if you're looking at what's different between now and 2 years ago, the Eagles have Barkley, which is a huge addition. Kelsey's probably not as good as he was 2 years ago. The Eagles were favored in that game. Now they're the underdogs in this game. So there's a lot of reasons to pick the Eagles, Bear. I'm just not doing it.
I keep thinking back to what you had mentioned prior to the Bills Chiefs game, and it's like if you whoever you bet against, if you lose, you're going to feel stupid. Again, you're going to feel like an idiot if you bet against the Chiefs again and the Chiefs beat you again. But it feels like, do you get the sense that there's just a lot of animosity, hate, vindictiveness? I think people are really actively rooting against the Chiefs here because of all the ridiculous narratives of, it's rigged and bad spot and the officials. It's I think people genuinely want to see this Kansas City team lose. You get that sense, Geoff?
Yeah, people don't like dynasties, right? It's always that way. And what's funny is I like watching the best teams play. I'd rather have the best teams win all the games because they typically have the best players and good coaching and play good ball in every sport, right? Except the Dodgers. Screw the Dodgers. No one likes them. But I think when you look at the Chiefs, yes. And here's the thing, guys. If the game is rigged, which people do think it is, I hope you made a lot of money betting on the Chiefs, right? Because if you think it's rigged, you should be betting on the Chiefs. It's so funny. People say it's rigged, but I'm taking Buffalo to win this. Are you sure? Why would you do that? So I hope Will, like me, I keep betting on the team. I keep making money. This rigged sport keeps making me money. I hope everyone's doing it the same.
Yes, and please feel free to reach out. Let me know what other games are rigged so I can, I can make some money. It's just, man, these games are it's hard to win betting no matter how much work you put in, no matter how good you think you are at it. So if you have something that's rigged, let me know. I'd love to jump aboard. Yeah, it is pretty ridiculous, the discourse with this stuff.
Yeah, I could as well. It reminds me of and I think we talked a little bit about this during college football season about, it's rigged and ESPN wants all these Alabama and Clemson and all these other and SEC teams in. Like, no, they didn't. I mean, like from the time the number of times you would hear that, and you still hear that, even though I'm no longer there. Obviously, it still makes my blood boil because, like, as a network, look, Fox is a network. If they had the college football playoff, you'd want Ohio State, you'd want Notre Dame, you'd want Michigan, you'd want USC, you'd want Texas, you'd want all these marquee brands. You wouldn't want these smaller media markets. Like Kansas City is a smaller media market in the grand scheme. You wouldn't be like building we're going to make the Kansas City, that's the team we're going to rig it for to get in there. So it's just it's so frustrating to have a game with what I think probably are the two best teams in the league. Speaking of making money, I hope you guys did make some money, because we were talking about betting the Eagles all year long when everyone was so high on the Lions that there were probably some prices that were getting away, and the Eagles might have been a little bit overlooked. So hopefully you did make some money there. But with the Eagles, we don't have any more concern, I don't think, about the health of Jalen Hurts after the performance last week against Washington.
He looked good. So. Brown looked good. They looked healthy. They looked crisp. They looked they looked fresh as a daisy last week.
The question is the offensive line, right? Dickerson and Jurgens, because they were hurt. Like Washington took advantage of that first quarter and second quarter when Dickerson got hurt. So that's a matter of those guys. Look, they're going to play. It's 2 weeks. Unless Dickerson's leg is going to fall off his body, he's going to play in this game, and Jurgens should be fine. It's a matter of, can the Chiefs take advantage of those inside? I don't think that's going to be an issue for Philly. So, yeah, I mean, look, I like this game where both teams are relatively healthy, right? I mean, the Eagles lost to Kobe Dean a couple weeks ago. I think that's mostly it for the injury report, right? Everyone's healthy. Chiefs, everyone's, mostly healthy for Kansas City. I like football when teams are healthy, and no surprise. We talk about this all the time, how much injuries matter at the end of the season. You look at these rosters, and they're playing Super Bowls and championship games, and it's a lot of times hey, we got 21 and 22 starters playing. That makes a difference.
And I would fully expect if Dickerson can stand up. Like, this is a guy who I believe it was the 2020 national championship game, Ohio State, Alabama, when he was at Alabama, who went in for one play to do the final kneel down victory formation snap, just to get himself on the field and in that game. This is a guy, like, if he's able to, he's gonna be out there for sure. So when we come back, we'll kick around some of your enough of us. We'll hear what you guys have to think, the viewer, the listener, the reader, the tweeter, the IG, or whatever. I'm so not up with the modern slang these days, but we'll take some of your mailbag questions when we get back. Back down, Bear Bets Podcast. Myself, Geoff Schwartz, Will Hill. Just a kind of overarching early 10 days out now, right? Yeah. I think is where we are from the Super Bowl. Just kind of some grand things. We will have breaking down the game at depth next week. Monday we will have an episode. John Murray from Superbook will join us, kick around some of the props and some other things that he's noticing from Las Vegas. We will have shows next Thursday and Friday as well from New Orleans, and we'll have a nice show early on Sunday morning on Super Bowl Sunday ourselves. So we got 4 shows coming up next week to really dive into the nitty gritty. So good opportunity to hear what you guys want to hear, what you guys want to talk about. So first mailbag question. I'm having a difficulty speaking today. Comes from Nathan Moore on Twitter, wanting to know, what is the group's biggest win on a non-traditional Super Bowl prop, and who is everyone besides Jeff rooting for, and why is it the Eagles? Hey, this is what I said before. Everyone wants to see the Chiefs lose, Jeff.
I'm rooting for a good football game. All right, I'm rooting for good play, good sportsmanship, and hopefully we find ourselves a winner. I don't know about you guys with the exotic Super Bowl bets. a lot of the faraway sports books offer those. And now that it's becoming legal, we're getting maybe more of those in sports books. I think the best one I hit, again, I mean, I've only been doing this a couple of years now because I was a football player. You couldn't wager during that time. Is the LA Super Bowl guys? I think maybe all of us, heard in advance how long the anthem was going to be. And I know there's limits on some of those, but it was, I think, very much under that year or over. It was one of the two. I knew someone that had the exact time, put it like that, guys. So that's probably the non-traditional one I've hit. That was, again, I mean, is that unfair that I knew? And I feel like everyone knew there's limits on those wagers, right, guys? So that's it for me. I hit an anthem wager because I knew the exact time it was going to be.
Yeah, there have been times, and again, this stuff's not offered as much anymore. But you kind of guess right sometimes with some of these songs in terms of the halftime shows. That's always a good feeling, fun to go through the singer's history.
Will Justin Timberlake have a hat or no?
What are they
open for an
with?
example like that?
Sure. Yeah, there's always a little. What do they open with? A little research like that. But those are always fun. But again, it's getting harder and harder to find those markets, Bear.
Yeah, it is. It feels like it's easier to get the information than it is to get down on a wager, which we were talking about earlier in the week. But in terms of I mean, I don't know what you really consider a non-traditional Super Bowl prop, because like I said, these set lists and anthems are hard to get down. I guess, I don't know, first touchdown really isn't it's not traditional. It's kind of traditional, but I had a nice score on Torrey Holt to score the first touchdown in the Titans-Rams Super Bowl in Atlanta. It was funny. I was I was working that game and for ABC when they had that and I was in the room with a bunch of former players and explaining all these bets that I had. And again, Jeff, when you play, you have really no idea about the stuff. And I'm and then when Holt scored, I remember there was one guy who was like, "Oh my God, you just won however much it was." And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh my, wow, good for you." And it was just funny to be around a group of analysts and players who couldn't do it, and here I am and had Torrey Holt to score the.
What odds were that? What odds you get on that?
Oh, it was long. It was. I think he was it was more than 15-1. I know that. I can't remember if it was 15 to 1 to score. Well, I think it was 15-1 to score a touchdown anytime. But 15-1, 16-1 seems to be registering in my head for first touchdown.
That would be 8-1 today. That 15-1 is for a guy that's good.
Starting wide receiver like that. The best story about this non-traditional bet that I've heard is the one that Jared Lorenzen's friends told after he passed, where the former quarterback of Kentucky, who was with the Giants for one of their Super Bowls, that he went and checked the Gatorade on the sideline, the Gatorade color on the sideline before the game, and texted his buddies what it was, and they were able to get down some money on that. That's the story that was told, after his passing, which just is a funny anecdote, right? Again, the limits are little on that. Giants had to win that game, but imagine being his friends and being told, "Hey guys, it's purple," and just finding a faraway place to make that wager, and then the Giants upset the Patriots. I mean, how much money did you have to get on that one? So that's just a fun little anecdote there that is not my story, obviously, but I like to share it about non-traditional Super Bowl wagers.
That's good. And I did have a cross-board parlay. We'll talk a little bit more about cross-board parlays at the end of the show, and we certainly talked about them in the coming weeks about being live to whomever. But I had a cross-board parlay a couple of years ago with the Eagles-Chiefs Super Bowl that wound up cashing because the Eagles did win the game. So that dollar-wise, that was the biggest score, which I guess it's kind of a non-traditional Super Bowl type bet. Question number 2 comes from A_Herm on an Instagram story. What is the worst beat in a Super Bowl for you personally? I've got 2, but I want to hear Will. I know you got to have one.
I was one of the lucky few that did have the first Chiefs 49ers Super Bowl, Mahomes, when he took about 30 negative yards rushing to take knee. I was one of those. I had under rushing yards. So I just kept doing the math. He just kept going further and further back, further and further back. It was a weird one in the clock where traditional knees weren't going to take the whole clock. So he was going back even further just to burn the time. Then I think around fourth down, he just threw it into the end zone and the clock expired. Yeah. They were up by 10. It didn't really matter, but it mattered in terms of the final rush. And that's always been, if you bet, all it takes is once to get burned by that stuff. And you're always going to look at those rushing props differently.
I don't have one, but I will say
I am
not taking quarterbacks over the rushing total. The Chiefs do that every time. They go back and take like 7 yards, take a knee every single time. Rush attempts is the way to go. I don't think I have a great one, guys. I mean, again, now that I have access to real wagering in North Carolina, it changes the dollar amount and the unit size you can wager on some of these. So this will be the first Super Bowl that I'll have a lot of money out there, guys. I'll put it like that.
Good for you. Yeah, I look forward to living it with you right there in New Orleans.
There's a lot. There's a lot on the line. I'm gonna try to write them all down. So I have like a.
You go notepad. You go notepad and write them all down. And you put them in the at note calendar.
I'll do by hand. I'll have a note card. Perfect. Probably like a little note card. All my wagers on it. Can't wait. I'm looking forward to it.
Get those big meaty paws out there, a little Bic pen, and all your bets down.
I'll write it down. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess the two that I have, and one circles back to what you were talking about earlier, Geoff, about the Super Bowl MVP. I did have Aaron Donald as a Super Bowl MVP a couple of years ago when they beat the Bengals. And again, when they're voting on these awards, like votes were probably already in when Donald made those plays at the final drive. I mean, Donald should have been the MVP and he wasn't. So that was a bad one. But I think the even worse one was just Falcons money line against the Patriots. I mean, that game was over 28-3. And then, of course, the Patriots came back and won in another episode for Atlanta Falcons football history lore. So those are probably the two worst beats in kind of a miserable outside of the New York Jets never getting to the Super Bowl and losing to Denver, losing to the Colts, losing to the Steelers. Don Shula cheating against the Dolphins in the AFC Championship game in '82. Like other than the Jets losing before the Super Bowl, those are my biggest Super Bowl failures and defeats. And let's see. Question number 3 here comes from Sullyval on Twitter. He wants to know, does tails never fail? Well, yes. Mostly. Does tails ever fail?
No, never. No, always call tails and then defer.
Sounds good, right?
Yeah, tails and then defer. That's the way to go. It never fails.
Of course.
I know there is some thinking that the commemorative coins, and I mean, look, tails has a slight advantage in history throughout these Super Bowls. I think it's by like 3 or 4, which is something. It's not. I don't know. It's not significant, but it is an advantage that the head side of the coin is heavier, so when it flips, it's more likely to flip and land on tails. So again, when you
really
add a physicist onto the show to verify this, but tails does have a slight advantage again.
I was going to say, who thought we were going to get science and physics and weights and measures on the Bear Bets podcast? See, look at Will educating us and making us all smarter.
I did not know that.
But again, it's just one of those instant gratification bets. You can't get down on an anthem prop. Here we go. Let's do the coin flip and see if we can win or lose something a little bit before the ball is kicked in the air. But yeah. Tails never fails. At least it does sound good. So back to the field for question number 4. Cuz Lightyear on Twitter. They want to know. Hurts has had trouble handing out the blitz all throughout his career, particularly against Tampa in the playoffs a couple of times. You assume that Spags will be all out against Hurts in the fourth quarter if this is a close game, and clearly much like it was with the Bills when you just all-out blitzed Josh Allen and some of the biggest plays of the game. I saw something earlier today on Twitter. I think it was Greg Cosell from NFL Films about, and Geoff, you could speak to this maybe about how it might factor into Spags' thinking as well. Hurts did not throw a pass between the numbers in the NFC Championship game? Is that possible?
Yeah, I mean, AJ Brown was all outside, if I recall. The Goddard stuff was out breaking routes for the most part. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly possible. Look, the key to this game is, I
Can you
think,
can you win the
no.
Super Bowl doing that?
Well, if you win first down, that's sort of where I'm getting at. Like the game to me boils down to very simply the first down. I know people focus on third down and whatnot. To me, it's first down, right? Because first down, if the Chiefs get a stop, 2nd and 8, 2nd and 9, 2nd and 11, now are you inclined to run the football again, or now you start passing? I think the Chiefs, if you get Jalen Hurts to throw the ball 30, 35 times, if you're Kansas City, you probably feel good about what your defense is going to do. Then that's where the pressure comes in. That's where the diversity of scheme comes in, and that really takes Saquon Barkley, who is I would imagine, I think it's not controversial, like the best athlete on the field in this game. It allows him to have less touches of the football, right? And then I think is where the Chiefs want to live. So if you can get second down to be 2nd 8 plus, that makes third down probably a little bit longer. Because if the Eagles are 3rd and 3 in, you're looking at 2 plays to stop them. If they're at the midfield, maybe a little bit, like they're going to go for it on 4th down a lot. And you don't want to be in a situation where it takes that many plays to get off the field if you're the defense. So to me, it's first down. If you get Jalen Hurts into throwing the football, which he's not, again, it's not a bad pass for the football. It's not a knock on Jalen Hurts, but you have to pick your poison, right? You'd rather, I think, have Hurts throw the football and live with the results than Barkley get 25 carries and 150 yards.
Back to the coin toss actually made me think of something. If you're Philly, I know all these teams defer for the most part. Would you actually think about taking the ball just because, hey, we don't want to play from behind? We want to establish a lead. We're good with a lead where we can just pound Barkley. If we're playing catch up and it's a drop back passing game, that's not our strength. Is that overthinking it too much, or both teams just kick off?
That's interesting. Like what do you think is more valuable, Geoff? Like getting the ball out of half after seeing how the first half plays out, or I kind of agree with Will there. Like I might want the ball. Kind of okay. Here, let's go out and just play smash mouth, run the ball down the field, take control. All the puns and our will imposed on them and take the lead because I think Will's onto something there, Joe. Give them give Kansas City the ball first, and they go down the field and score, and then it's like, all right, now we're kind of a little bit out of it. I know Washington scored early; it was a field goal, and they came back and blew them out. But Chiefs are a little bit different than the Commanders.
Yeah, I'd still want that middle 8 opportunity, right? Where you have the way to really get 14 points while the Chiefs scoring any points. And that to me is more valuable than starting the game fast. I mean, especially if you think your defense is going to play well. If you think your defense is going to play well, you kick it off, you force a punt, and now you get the ball back, and it's, you get good field position potentially. It's 0-0. Your team feels good about stopping the Chiefs, and you still have the opportunity for that middle 8. That middle 8, for those who don't know the middle 8, it's the last 4 minutes of the first half and the next 4 minutes of the second half. And that opportunity allows you sometimes to get 14 points. That's a lot in the NFL. And that opportunity leads to more victories. And I think Eagles will choose that opportunity, which is why teams defer, than taking the ball and sort of showing the Chiefs that they can run the football on them.
And that kind of leads us to our last mailbag question here from Bet Chicken Dinner. We talked about this and taking the punt in the college football championship game. Would you take a punt prop on the first drive, like a team to punt? You're looking at maybe Eagles and Chiefs plus 135 to punt on their opening drive. I think we both kind of think maybe yes could be the play there, especially if you are the Eagles. You think your defense is going to play well. I'm never opposed to being a little bit contrarian here. I think a lot of people feel this is going to be a pretty high scoring game, and maybe we get a 3 and out or kind of a stall drive near midfield. I guess the hesitation is if the Eagles were to get the ball, like you also said earlier, Geoff, that they would go for it on a 4th and short because they have a tendency to do that. But I wouldn't be opposed to a punt first driving, but only 4 times there was an opening drive touchdown is what our research has seemed to indicate. 4 teams teed the opening drive, first offensive drive in Super Bowl history. So seems like a low number. Chiefs were one. I mean, the Eagles were one of those teams, but any interest? Punt? Yes, no, maybe so. How do you think the game flow is going to play out?
So the total punts right now is 6.5 on most major books. It was up at 7 when it came out earlier today. People hit it so hard that it moved to 6.5.
Thanks, Fez.
Not just him, but yes, a lot of people hit it. I got a text about I went to look at it. It was already 6.5. So
thanks, crack.
Yeah, I still think that 6.5 is underplaying is fine. I don't think we're seeing a lot of punts in this game, guys. I just don't. I think both offenses are really good. They're going to move the ball. They're going to have plans. They have 2 weeks to prepare. They're going to have a plan for Jalen Carter. The Chiefs will. They'll have a plan for Chris Jones for the Eagles. I think both teams are going to just be aggressive. They're going to try to move the ball down the field, knowing points are going to be important in this game. And I don't expect a lot of punts. I would not take any punt wager in this game, Will. It could happen. Of course it can. But I don't see a lot of teams, or at least these 2 teams playing the football very, very often.
Yeah, Super Bowls are typically slow starting, and you think of the Brady ones, and I think Brady, maybe up until his last Super Bowl, had never scored a point in the first quarter of any of his Super Bowls. Yep. So maybe it was just a Brady thing, but it's just, look, it's natural. It's human nature. You're in the biggest game of your life. You don't want to screw it up early, so you just come out a little tense, avoid the mistake, and just try to get your feet underneath you. That being said, the last time these teams played in the Super Bowl, it was fireworks. Philly went right down and scored. Chiefs went right down and scored. I mean, we looked at, what was it, 38-35 final. So, and plus the fact that these teams have been in the game so recently, the Chiefs are always in this game, maybe that gets mitigated a little bit. So, but look, at plus 135 to punt on your first drive, I don't think we'll get a lot of them either. I agree with Geoff, but at plus 135 to punt on the first drive, I don't think is a bad one.
Yeah, especially when you know you're going to get a score, kind of score, you're going to get a touchdown, you're going to get a field goal, like the other options there certainly play in. What do you guys got in pocket that you want to show? I don't have a single bet on the game outside of the closing leg of my cross sports. Like, I'm sure I will have something in pocket coming up, but I haven't made a single bet so far on this game. You guys get down on anything early?
Well, I took Goddard over 4.5 catches. That's all I got. I mean, I just think that the word is out. Chiefs get really beat up by these tight ends. Schultz had a good game. I know Kincaid could have caught the ball, but tight ends do well against the Chiefs. I think that number will go up, 4.5 catches, 52.5 yards, something like that. I think we're looking at overs here for Goddard, Geoff.
I took Chiefs money line, and I took the over 49. I think a lot of points are scored in this game. I don't really see a defensive game being had here. The other one I'm probably going to take soon, I haven't got to it quite yet, is any of the Travis Kelce overs. I know he looked a little bit old as he is playing a lot of football the last couple of years, but we went over that stat before they played the Texans that after a bye, Travis Kelce is very good in the postseason. This might be his final game in the NFL as well. I've said that for a while now. I have no inside information. I just think that he's at the age now where I don't see him playing a full season next year. Like, I don't know if that's going to happen. But it's at 6.5. It's just the over. It's always about 5.5. So might want to wait a little bit there and see if you can get a 5.5 at some point. I think he catches the ball a lot in this game, or at least targeted a bunch. I don't know about the yards, but he will get the ball in this game.
Yeah, I think probably the way the games come out. And another thing I have heard people talk about, I think, Will, you were talking about this the other day, it might have been with Gil on a numbers game, was just how the number of passes in this game is probably going to be very high, certainly for the Chiefs, because their running game right now has kind of been non-existent. Yep. So, like, I'm sure that number has moved from the open number of Mahomes either attempts and or completions.
Yeah, and Fangio's got a reputation. Look, he's got a reputation of doing well against Mahomes, but you look at the numbers. Like, he never really beats him. He doesn't beat him with the Broncos, with the Dolphins. Mahomes, I think, is 8-0 against Fangio. But Fangio, and Geoff could speak to this more as the X's and O's guys, that too high safety, keep the ball in front of you. You combine that with the fact that the running game's not really there and would lead you to a lot of attempts. Now it's high, 35.5, 36.5. So getting to 37, 38 attempts. Well, that is a lot of attempts, especially if you're not in one of these games where, like, well, you can get to like 38 plus. If you're like down 2 scores, you're throwing it every down. But if it's sort of a neutral state, that makes it tough. I think it's factored in, but I would only look towards the over for that reason. And something I really don't think that's being talked about enough that I haven't heard just in the 4 or 5 days since this game has been finalized here. The Eagles kicking situation is a disaster. I'm surprised, man. I don't even know if you're allowed to like sign a kicker between now and the start of the Super Bowl, but Elliott missed extra points. He's missed field goals. Butker, he's been there, has done that. And that was part of the handicap last year against the 49ers where, hey, very close game. Moody was shaky. Butker makes all of these clutch kicks. If it comes down to a kick, well, I really trust Butker to make a kick much more so than Philly making one.
Yeah, I would too. I mean, most of Elliott's kick misses have been long, and again, you are indoors here, so you're not going to have to deal with the elements and the wind. So, while we may not see a large number of field goals, maybe we will see a little bit more success potentially from Elliott. Being that we are indoors and at longer range than not. But yeah, I would think field goals will probably be a little bit down in this game again, just because of the tendency of these teams to go for it as well. Appreciate your mailbag thoughts, everyone, for chiming in. Of course, we're always on Twitter, and we try and get back to you whenever we happen to stumble across your comments and your questions and your responses and chiming in to all of us. So we appreciate you all throughout the year for doing that. When we come back, we'll kick around one of my side hobbies, I guess, one of my pet bets, one of the things I like to enjoy doing. The strategy of potentially betting a little to win a lot with those cross-sport parlays. Coming back on Bear Bets. Bear Bets is back, and we'll certainly have plenty of time over the next week or so to digest this game and figure out ways to bet this game moving forward. So have a little bit of an exit ramp, a little bit of an opportunity to have some fun here and talk about this kind of cottage industry of cross-sport parlays. And it's something that you've heard me talk about and share and discuss strategies to do this, and it's something where you can potentially bet a little to win a lot. You can put together a bunch of combinations, or you can just kind of stand pat with a couple of tickets. But out there on social media, out there on Twitter, right there was a pretty good recent example of an 85-cent wager that could return $147,000 with Ohio State winning the national championship. Now, this bettor sold it for $16,750, which if I would have gotten to that point, I would not have sold the ticket.
No.
I certainly would have. I mean, selling it for $16,000, $17,000, yeah, off an 85-cent investment, yeah, it sounds great, but you could have
Just
made
hedge.
so much more if you would have done a better job of hedging that. Now, maybe there were some other hedges involved that I was not aware about or that aren't seen there, but you certainly can figure out a way to make a little bit more money than $16,000, especially when you've got a team that's going to be close to double-digit favorite in the college football championship game. And again, I don't know when that bet was made or when the ticket was sold, but yeah, I would not have sold. But it goes to show you how you can take these stabs for minimal amounts and return big money. And I was fortunate enough to have some success this summer, coming down to Panthers winning the Stanley Cup and some Euro wagers with Spain winning the Euro. So like I had a pretty good summer doing this. I think this is a good time where you can maybe reset and maybe invest whatever you're comfortable with, couple $100, couple $1,000, whatever it is. But if you, for example, I'm going to lay it out for you. Like we're in a period now where the strategy behind this is you need to find bets and markets where you feel pretty good standing alone with one winner, or in the case of the Super Bowl, two winners. So I think the game that's basically a toss-up game, it's a great opportunity. You play the Chiefs on the money line. That's how you can start your first leg. And then on another set, you can take the Eagles plus the 1.5. You can probably buy it up to 2 in the grand scheme of things. It's not really going to cost you that much more money in terms of earning potential if you buy it up to 2. And by the way, two could be a very logical outcome in this game with the 2-point conversions and overtime and such. So buying the Eagles up to 2 is probably a good thing. So you can play Chiefs on the money line, and then find some other things that you feel are high probability outcomes, like Oklahoma City to win the West. Now I know they blew a double-digit lead last night against a terrible Golden State team, but grand scheme of things, that's not going to affect Oklahoma City coming up in the playoffs. So I think OKC is the best team in the West, and they're going to be getting healthy. You know, they're going to improve their team probably at the trade deadline as well. So you get them around plus 110 or so. A stronger leg like a Liverpool to win the English Premier League, they're up minus 450. But again, when you're adding legs, you're accruing value. They're 6 points up on Arsenal with a game in hand. So really that's potentially like a 9-point lead. So like it's very likely that Liverpool are going to win the Prem. Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga, again, minus 1,000, but they are going, it's essentially a certainty. And again, you're adding value, you're another leg. The extrapolation of adding a leg to the parlay is something that you're creating value. You say, oh, why would you want to add something minus 1,000 to a parlay? But when you're adding 5-6 legs, it does add dollars to the outcome. Iga Swiatek to win the French Open. I think she's won it, 4 times already? She's minus 175. But some people might say, oh, well, didn't she lose the Olympics at Roland Garros? Yeah. Court plays a lot differently when the Olympics were played when she lost to Qinwen Zhang than it does in late May, early June. So it's basically a health thing with Iga. If she's healthy, she's going to win the French Open. So minus 175 on her to win the French Open. And then the last leg of this, what I would suggest doing is kind of your value leg. This is where you're going to make your money on the crossboard, the longest possible leg. Look at something like the Masters. Like even with Scottie Scheffler at like 4-1 to win the Masters, that parlay is going to come out and pay 38-1. Xander Schauffele to win the Masters, that's going to come out around 80-1. John Rahm would come out around 95-1. Ludwig Oberg would come out to like 115-1. So depending on how long of a price you play in the Masters, you're gonna get a lot of bang for your buck at this point. And so like this is something that I enjoy doing. Like I know it's not for everybody. People, parlays are for suckers. But again, if you want to invest a couple $100 and then you can wind up getting a 38-1, you can figure out your ways to which parlays to press a little bit more. It's a fun way of potentially having a high 5, low 6 or high 6-figure score as well. If you want to get really risky and really go out on a limb, maybe you put some college basketball futures. Like I think push comes to shove, I don't know what you guys think. Like it just feels like Auburn, Duke, Houston, maybe Iowa State are kind of like the 4 teams that Alabama, 5 teams. So there really aren't a ton of college basketball teams that can win. Maybe you do that. NHL, usually I stay away because I think the NHL playoffs are kind of like the most high variant playoffs, but last year I had a strong feeling about the Panthers. I felt good about them, so I did use them. But those are just some things that I like doing. And if you want to follow along, great. If you don't, no offense taken. But just kind of pull back behind the curtain at just some of the strategies I have with some of these cross-sport parlays. And I know you love so much, Geoff.
Well, my favorite thing about this, Bear, is when you told me we were in Los Angeles together, I think it was, and you were flying to Arizona just to place cross-sport parlays in the Delta Lounge before flying home. Yep. So I appreciate the commitment, Will, that Chris has to making cross-sport parlays be a thing. I'm going to do that. I wrote it down. I'm going to try to make it happen. And I'll ride with you. Because again, like if you get the first 5 legs, which seem pretty likely, then you have some fun with the Masters. Then you can have fun with the Masters.
And Geoff, I'll be there to hold your hand in New Orleans. Maybe we could do it side by side together.
Well, I'm gonna make 2. I'll make one with the Eagles and one with the Chiefs.
Perfect. Good. Yeah. But yeah, and Super Bowl Sunday will be the payoff of that LA to Phoenix little 5-hour gambling junket that we had during the summer. Because the final, here was the parlay that I have. I'm not posting it, but just so you know, like I played. So it was right before the Open Championship. So I used like 5 golfers at the Open Championship, including Xander Schauffele, who wound up winning. I had WNBA, New York Liberty, and I had the Aces as a leg. And of course, as you know, as everybody knows, I'm sure, Game 5 of the WNBA final was a little bit of a sweat, but the Liberty did get home. Aaron Judge was a single leg to win the AL MVP. It was only around minus 300 or so at that time. And then I used Georgia and Ohio State to win the college football championship as a leg. So Ohio State wound up winning. So now here I am. I used 5 or 6 teams, I think it was, prior to the year. I used the Eagles. I used the Chiefs. I used the Niners. I used the Ravens. And I might have been one other one, Bills. So I was I was naked on the Lions, which wound up working. I mean, I was exposed there, and I was a little bit concerned, but the Commanders did me a solid in knocking the Lions out. So yeah, here we are. We're alive to both the Chiefs and the Eagles for a nice score. So the payoff to that Arizona trip will be next Sunday, Jeff.
I like it. I'm trying to find all these wagers to make this happen. So I'll
help you through it.
I got it. I got. And I just have to put the golf
nothing is going to change dramatically between now and next Sunday. And when I see you,
if I don't do it now, I'm going to forget about it. So I got to do it now. Okay. It's got to be done immediately.
I just did one myself. Chiefs money line, Thunder to make the finals, Celtics to make the finals. And what the hell? The American League's pretty wide open. Yankees got a good bullpen, some pitching, plus 850. Yankees to win it all. 73-1, a little over 73-1. So Chiefs win it all. Celtics Thunder finals, which I actually think is going to be the final. You can get like 3-1 on that, and then Yankees to win it all. 73-1. Bear. Let's the dream is in. The ticket is in. So I want to be like you.
Chiefs. You said Celtics Thunder.
Make the finals, yeah, and I want Yankees to win it all.
You think do you think of the? Because again, I'm not the NBA expert here. I just
doesn't sound like it. You were all over. You were staying up to watch Thunder blow a late lead to the Warriors, which that's the most surprising part of this podcast so far.
It was one of those things that you click on, you open up the phone when you first wake up, and like you have like ESPN.com or what is Fox Sports or whatever, and like on the front headline is like. You see like the picture of Steph and like you see the score, so it's like, oh wow, Golden State beat Oklahoma City last night. So of those two teams, of the Celtics and the Thunder, like who do you think is the bigger risk there? Like which one could you see losing before the NBA championship, NBA Finals?
Boy, it's a great question. I think it's a coin flip. I would say OKC just because they haven't done it, but man, that is a very deep team. I guess it's like, who do you like in either conference as a sleeper? Like, do you like the Knicks more than you like? I don't even know who would be the biggest threat in the West.
Some people are talking Memphis up.
Memphis is good. I have a hard time seeing that. So I think OKC is maybe more likely to get tripped up, but I think it's about even. If you look, DraftKings, they're both plus 110 to make the finals, so it's dead even.
Heard Jersey Jeff moaning there. You think the Lakers are gonna?
No.
The apple cart?
Not with AD. I give my first.
I was gonna say, how was your field trip to? It was good. Charlotte Coliseum.
I give my first wager on the WNBA on the radio the other day. I give AD over 12.5 rebounds. He's projected to get like 14 against the Sixers. No Embiid, gets hurt immediately. That's what I get for giving out an NBA wager. It was fun. The funniest thing about the game, the arena is just the most terrible environment of all time. But the funny thing is, the Lakers tunnel had like 25 security guards lining the stands above the tunnel, just because there were a lot of Laker fans there. I turned to the Hornets side, not one security guard, like not a single security guard at all, protecting any of the Hornets. But it's crazy. The NBA, man, look, Lakers were up, I think, 27-5 in the first quarter. AD had 21-11 in the first quarter, and they didn't cover. They didn't cover the 5.5. The Hornets came all the way back and covered the 5, which unfortunately I didn't get to see Bronny go 0 for 5. So
that was the game he played?
No, he didn't travel. It was the Sixers game the next night. I was bummed. I didn't get to see him play. Had my Bronny jersey on. I was ready to go.
Did they show you on TV when they do like the celebrity row and they'll show like Larry David and Jack Nicklaus? Did they show Geoff Schwartz?
I don't sit there. I have so many problems with the Hornets arena. Like one of them is everyone at halftime who sits like courtside on like the opposite of the players, obviously, they all go to like the bar or restaurant that's underneath, like, they all leave and they don't come back for the first like 7-8 minutes of the second half. So the entire front of like the court where like the TV is at, everyone's like, where the cameras are at, no one's there. It looks terrible. Just get everyone their drinks as soon as possible to send them back out there. So at least it looks good on TV.
Wait till there's 10-minute quarters. All this will be solved.
Oh, don't get me started on. That's just all we want is the players to play. It's all we want, Adam Silver. And they're not gonna be like, well, quarters with 8 less minutes, I'm gonna play tonight. It's the whole process of getting ready and being on the court. This is not gonna solve any problems.
I wish we had more time to solve all the problems in the world.
I'm making these cross-sport parlays now. It's going to take the rest
exactly.
of
I was going to say the best segment in Bear Bets podcast history, solving the NBA's 10-quarter problems to Charlotte. I don't even know. It's not Charlotte Coliseum anymore. I'm just making fun of it and all that. So
might as well be.
I think it's probably a good time to let all of you go. So appreciate Geoff and Will for sticking around and kicking all this around. Appreciate you again, as always, the listener and viewer, for downloading, rating, reviewing, subscribing, wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever else. For Geoff, for Will, I'm Bear. Less you bet, more you lose when you win.